I've been hearing this a lot, and I'm pretty sure you have too. Every game that gets announced or comes out now is always woke in some way, and that's why the game fails or why it's bad or whatever. That's not really what I think though. I actually think it has very little to do with it at all, and I'm gonna explain why. Everyone seems to have their own definition, but they all stem off its original definition, passive wake. Sorry, it's the one below it. Alert and concerned about social injustice and discrimination. You can see this in all other people's descriptions. They just add on more to it. Usually it's used as this catch-all buzzword insult, and you're gonna see why.
Yeah, well, guess what? Pronouns!
We should all know what Starfield is, Bethesda's most recent game. I haven't played it yet, but I've seen my friend play it, and it was pretty mediocre. I can talk about my problems with the game, and I will, but first I'm going to show you this.
I love nothing more than, with all of that laid out in front of me, I love nothing more than to be dragged out at every fucking conceivable opportunity so you can
This is Heels versus Babyface. You should know him if you remember the talk around Starfield when it dropped. And thankfully, he kept his cool and didn't overreact.
in current days! Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian! Because that's all we fucking know! Because we're boring! We're so fucking boring!
His rant kinda just says nothing, complaining about pronouns, current daying, and Californian shit. Just shoveling buzzwords at you. Luckily, I'm fluent in buzzwords so I can decipher it. He's basically saying Starfield is woke and using the pronoun selector as the one and only example. He's crying about having to choose pronouns at the start of the game. Now, I don't know if this is too obvious, but the reason Starfield isn't good isn't because of
fucking pronouns!
Now, Starfield has a problem with it trying to be No Man's Sky. It having all these planets and moons just for them to be the exact same rock. I know everyone has said this, but if they focused on a select number of planets instead of trying to have infinite planets to explore, then the game would be significantly better. You want to know how disappointed I was when my friend showed me Io, the most volcanically active thing in our solar system? Very fucking disappointed. Why is it gray with cryo chambers on my multicolored lava wasteland? What the fuck? At least they cared enough to make Europa icy. That ain't all though. It just kinda sucks. There's a loading screen for everything, including elevators, on a game that was supposed to have groundbreaking innovation. Fallout 4 did elevators without loading screens 7 years before Starfield. Same company, by the way. The faces were just broken. I don't know if they still are. I'd have to play it to find out. But they had this uncanny feeling to them. Others, from what I've seen, are actually good, and miles better than their old faces. But random NPCs seem to break sometimes. You don't have a lot of options and control over the story. This is something I remember Fallout 4 having, and it returns here. You can't kill important NPCs because they didn't bother exploring that option of the story and didn't want you to, so they just made it impossible. Choosing your role in the role-playing game doesn't affect the main story. They still haven't learned why people love New Vegas more than their games. There's probably more that I don't know about and haven't seen, but to me, and a lot of people, these are what makes the game not good, not choosing what pronouns you want before starting the game. Concord is in the same boat as Starfield, but it's not because it's woke that makes it bad. It's the gameplay and decisions that make it bad. This one has been blown up. Look up Concord woke on YouTube. It'll be the same thing. People complaining that the woke ideology is being shoved down their throats. I want to look at what they're talking about specifically.
Some of the most hideous woke character designs.
50-year-old angry lesbian cat owner.
All of the characters seem to be created just in order to satisfy DEI requirements. The morbidly obese Redditor with a fupa.
It was built on a foundation of woke propaganda.
I don't think there is a singular white guy in this game.
$400 million BlackRock budget, 2 woke game design.
Nobody here has any kind of sex appeal whatsoever. And of course, thank God there's not a single white person here.
Fat, unattractive women are portrayed as powerful and desirable.
No straight guy wants to play a gay person in a game.
So, a bit to take in. The character design is a large part of why the game failed. No doubt about that. One of the first things you see when looking at a game is its characters. So obviously people are gonna lose interest in a game if the character design is bad. But that's what it is. It's bad character design, not woke character design. Nothing about Concord's character designs scream woke. There's no pride flags, no BLM symbols, nothing there that would tell you that they're woke. The real problem with the character design is that it doesn't tell you anything about the character. Look at him. What does his design tell you about him? Did it tell you medic? What about her? Exactly. They did not cook with the character designs. Then you have these bad color choices for a lot of them, and these bad clothing choices too. Why does she have these random pink rectangles? Why does it look like they threw paint on her? Why do they have this ugly ass cube helmet? See what I mean? And the cherry on top, their dialogue is corny as fuck. It reminds me of those gameplay showcases where they act like hyped up gamers. But compare all of that to Overwatch, the game that inspired Concord. Their character designs are the opposite of Concord's. They're actually good. Take Cassidy. You can tell what character he is and what gun he uses even if he's not holding it. His equivalent from what I know is Lennox. You can't tell anything about him from looking at him, except that he's an alien. Take any equivalent and Overwatch will be better, because they put in the effort to make engaging characters. Hell, put any hero shooter against Concord, including BO4, and they'll all win because Concord's designs are just that bad. The pronouns are another reason, and like with Starfield, the pronouns can basically be ignored because it's only seen on the character select screen and on the character's profile where you change skins and everything. I think they should take it out of the character select screen because that info isn't needed at all when choosing who you want to play. Either way, it's not that important compared to other shit like the core gameplay. Let's talk about that. The characters are bland and don't do anything new except Devere's having the flammable goop which can be lit up by teammates that use fire, and the vacuum cleaner that can suck up projectiles and blast them away. 2 characters can't save an ass game. There's also no ultimates. Big letdown. The game looks slow even with movement characters. All for $40. It does everything else worse than its competitors, so why would anyone play it? It's just a bad game because it's gameplay and shit character design, not because it's woke. I'm not even gonna bother with the no white guys complaint, because who cares? Plus, isn't this a white guy? Also, Andy Pants, speak for yourself.
Small amount of wokeness in the game.
This is a game I wouldn't expect to be on here because of how brutal Warhammer is as a franchise. But here we are. Enter Synthetic Man. And the reason why it's woke is certainly something. So what are his complaints about the game?
Comical amount of diversity. The most offensive being the major of the Cadian guardsmen, who is an Indian woman. I sense heresy from this one. He's corrupted. You can see it on his skin. Can we shoot her? It's just incredibly annoying seeing girl boss characters in this day and age, especially in a supposedly grim dark universe. There's a female custodes, aka the super space marines that guard the emperor. There is one space marine that is just straight up undeniably African, which is bizarre. Why are all these ultramarines different ethnicities? This has definitely got to be a retcon for diversity purposes. If they're willing to make a female super space marine, you better fucking believe they're gonna have a female regular space marine in the next couple years. I gotta say, it definitely distracted me. Just stomp on her on accident.
What the fuck are these complaints? Complain about diversity in a series that's had it for as long as I've been alive. Complain about women in seats of power when the Sisters of Battle exist, which are arguably, from what I've read, are more badass than Space Marines, and complaining about female Space Marines guarding the Emperor, which Custodes aren't Space Marines. I also didn't mention his reason for why there shouldn't be black Space Marines isn't even correct, because that's not how Gene Seed works. From what I understand, The gene seed process is basically an organ transplant to make someone a super soldier. If a black person gets an organ transplant from a white donor, does their skin become white? No! It took me about 10 minutes of reading to find out all of this info about a franchise I've never looked into until now. This guy didn't even bother doing that for even one of his points, and instead started calling Black Space Marines a retcon and distracting. The game is good, guys, don't worry. It's not completely woke, but the existence of black people
Is going down a slippery slope.
If Synthetic Man says he goes outside, I wouldn't believe it, because he can't even handle seeing a black person or woman in a video game. These guys are pre-ordering hate now. They're calling games woke before anyone can even play them. What do they have to say about Ghost of Yote?
Do I have to play as a girl?
The dreaded, strong, independent women who don't need no man, female protagonist.
Ghost of woke.
After all we've seen already, are you surprised? All we've seen is a very small amount of gameplay with the new weapons and the new protagonists, and they're already having a shit fit. I can understand people being mad that it's not a sequel to Jin's story. That criticism makes sense since that's understandable. People want to see more of him. I do too. But I understand Sucker Punch's decision, because Jin's story is basically wrapped up, so they probably want a different character to build, with new problems and ways to evolve in a different way. A different timeline allows for new weapons like the guns that we saw in the trailer, which we wouldn't be able to use as Jin. I also think the idea of it being a series where we go throughout Japan and play as different people who get the Ghost title is an amazing idea, and I'm all for that. The criticism I'm talking about is people just complaining about the protagonist being a woman for woke agenda DEI points, whatever buzzword they can interchange that means the same thing. Saying shit like,
Yeah, nothing says realism like a female samurai in the 1500s or 1600s in Japan.
we know they were female samurai. They were called Onamusha. The most known from what I know of is Tomoe Gozen. Also, is it woke to have a character to represent half of the population? What about Assassin's Creed Shadows?
And of course, it stars a black man in feudal Japan.
Hey, but what if we made him black? Why? Nobody knows.
Unfortunately, has a wide face and a man jaw.
Changing of history, people trying to lie about who this person actually was.
Of course, we couldn't have a woman with feminine features because that would be transphobic. You think I'm joking? I'm not.
Yasuke was kept around as a fascination because Nobunaga thought it was funny that somebody could have black skin. He was used as a novelty for everyone's amusement, and 500 years after his death, it's happening again. I mean, there's no denying that.
He was a servant, effectively a pet of Oda Nobunaga.
This is probably the most heated talk regarding anything woke that I've seen. Yasuke is one of the two main characters for the new Assassin's Creed game, and from what I just showed you, it's woke, DEI, you get it. One thing I've seen in comments is how it's not historically accurate, which makes me question if they've ever seen the series before this. This is the same series where the Pope uses magic, you can ride a giant wolf, you meet and fight Greek gods, and can have guardian powers from Destiny with a sword that shoots rockets. But a black guy being a samurai is too historically inaccurate for the series. While researching, I found this compilation of a series of posts someone made on the Assassin's Creed subreddit that he took from a user on r/AskHistorians. It includes places where you can read the actual documents and sites where they got the information from. It taught me things I didn't know about Yasuke or Japanese culture. It's pretty cool though. TLDR, Yasuke was a slave from Mozambique, owned by the Jesuits, and was gifted to Oda Nobunaga after he took a liking to him. Yasuke was a bodyguard and a weapons carrier for Nobunaga, the same role as a Kosho, and he was given a stipend. There were even rumors that Nobunaga was even going to make him a lord. Ultimately, Yasuke was captured and handed back over to the Jesuits after Nobunaga died. Even though there aren't any known records of Yasuke explicitly being called a samurai, there are records of him doing everything a samurai does. I can't outright confirm all of this because I can't read Japanese or Portuguese, but it lines up with a lot of what I've read and heard about him before. I'm more willing to trust someone who's able to use proper terms and explain them, use examples to further prove their point, and cite sources for all their evidence. I trust that over the word of people on Twitter and TikTok who don't do that, won't do that, and can't do that to prove their point. Talking about Naoe, the female protagonist, people are saying she looks like a man. This isn't even something I can take seriously. If you genuinely think she looks like a man, then you should go outside for once and look at women in real life instead of whatever gooner shit you've been looking at recently. This game is definitely gonna flop, and that's all Ubisoft's fault. They haven't made a great game in a while, and they don't care about making one either. From what we've seen, this game has poor design in all aspects, like with the map design where shit just doesn't make sense, or with character design, because why the fuck did they steal Naoe's drip? Knowing Ubisoft, the gameplay is gonna be copy and paste, virtually zero change, with the same shit they've been doing in Assassin's Creed for a while. A black main character isn't gonna make it flop. I'm sorry to tell everyone who thinks it is. There is criticism about Yasuke that does hold merit, that I want to touch on though. Yasuke is the first historical figure to be a main character instead of a supporting character like every other historical figure. Some people don't want that to change, and I can understand that. Overall though, people want good gameplay and stories over what skin color a character is. Shocker, I know. Alright, so what about Subnautica 2?
Where developers are creating black characters and they're not even black.
Look like they ought to be sitting at a coffee shop and lecturing us on the evils of capitalism.
We don't need witty dialogue or a mixing pot of races.
The characters presented in the trailer all appear androgynous, an all too familiar look of characters in all these DEI injection games these days.
But they look like Starbucks employees.
How are you gonna cry about diversity in the game when we don't know anything about the game? You can't convince me that these people don't actually play the games they complain about. Because how are they gonna complain about diversity being added to a new game when the series had it from the beginning? Okay, so we've seen what they think about games that only have announcement trailers and nothing else, and what they think will ruin games that are basically doomed to fail because the company making them. So what do they think about one of, if not the most anticipated games in history, GTA 6?
Being produced by new developers that had a specific political orientation already in mind.
Here's a woman character and a whole bunch of other bullshit to go along with it. Probably gonna identify as they, them. I guarantee, watch. Just watch.
Knowing full well that their game is full of woke ideology.
Do I have to tell you? They don't really say what about it is woke. They're kinda just saying it'll be woke because Rockstar said they're worried it'll get review bombed because it'll be woke. Probably not the best thing to tell reporters. Not much to say unless we look at Twitter, which I don't want to go there anymore for this video. I think this is the icing on the cake for this video. It starts off with Bloons TD6. This is how you know you're in for a ride. You shouldn't play the game about monkeys popping balloons with darts and nukes, cause ooh, there's a pride flag, and ooh, there's a pronoun monkey. Oh hey look, Starfield. We already talked about that. 2023 Game of the Year winner Baldur's Gate 3? A Game of the Year winner wouldn't be woke, would it? Oh no. But what about Elden Ring, the 2022 Game of the Year winner? Oh, that too? Wait, is that it? It uses the term body type in the character creator? Not you being able to change your gender when you feel like it? Or the constant strong women with authority? We know the people who made this list think this is woke, since they list it multiple times as a reason to not play a game. They're a bit confused on Fallout and Elder Scrolls games. I guess being gay is a pick and choose thing, since they think Baldur's Gate and Hades are woke because of those reasons. But Fallout and Skyrim aren't. It's probably because they actually liked those games before the woke conversation started, and don't want to say it's woke to look like hypocrites. That's what it looks like to me though. Hogwarts Legacy? The game's so controversial for being anti-woke because of J.K. Rowling's beliefs, it's actually woke? Yep, too much diversity in LGBTQ characters. Pacific Drive? Yeah, don't play that, it has a pride flag sticker that you can put on your car. This one's good. Red Dead Redemption 2 is questionable. Why? Characters espouse modern day political sentiments. What? It's woke now for characters to have their own opinions? Their example is that Sadie Adler behaves like a modern day feminist. What the fuck does that mean? The game might be woke because a character is a feminist? During the time of women fighting for the right to vote? Dark Souls might be woke. Why? Gwendolyn exists, and you can change your gender whenever you want. But it's still okay to play, unlike Elden Ring with its body types. Assassin's Creed 3 has forced diversity that is inaccurate for the time period. Huh? You're telling me white people, black people, and Native Americans weren't in America at the time of the American Revolution? I think one of the list writers needs to retake 5th grade history. Helldivers 2 is funny. It's only a little bit woke, because you can't see boobs if you're playing a girl, and there's a mixed race couple. We see something new in this list that hasn't been seen with the other people covered before, and that's calling anti-capitalism woke. Hardspace Shipbreaker is woke because it's anti-capitalist. You can join a union apparently. Citizen Sleeper and more games are woke for the same reason. BioShock isn't woke because of this though. Surprisingly. We can actually see what this group considers woke. It really broadens the perspective of what's considered woke. Their definition is literally anything that's associated with left-wing politics. This includes pro-LGBTQ+ messaging, pro-DEI messaging, pro-climate action messaging, okay, pro-communism/socialism messaging, pro-abortion messaging, pro-pedophilia messaging. What? Pedophilia isn't a political issue or aligned with any side. Nobody likes it in general. This can be seen by the fact they haven't found a single game with that in it. They've played 1,551 games as of writing this, and not a single one has it, because nobody is advocating for this shit, unless you count Sneeko. Pro-immigration messaging, pro-transhumanism. Huh? Are they actually serious? Anti-Western society messaging, anti-human messaging, anti-colonial messaging. They think colonization is good or something? Anti-capitalism messaging, anti-heterosexual messaging, anti-patriarchy messaging, anti-family messaging, anti-free speech messaging, anti-gun messaging. Literally anything they don't like is seen as woke to them. This is fucking stupid. But with its stupidity, we get a lot of gems. Gmod is woke, because you can't be a Nazi anymore. Non-binary has non-binary characters in it. Spider-Man Miles Morales is woke, because the main character of the game it's named after overshadows Peter Parker. One of the reasons Saints Row is woke is because poor people try to stop being poor. Destroy all humans is anti-human. Floofty Fizzlebean is non-binary. They can't tell the genders of aliens and fauna when looking at them. I challenge them to look at the majority of animals in real life and see if they can get their gender right just by looking at them. Ultrakill is woke because 3 mannequins spell out gay in flag symbols. The IKEA shark and butt plug support. The KFC dating simulator is woke. Leisure Suit Larry is woke somehow. Depression is woke. Sonic is pro-environment, anti-human, and anti-colonialist. The game where everyone is a piece of shit in some way also makes family members and men into pieces of shit. Democratic Socialism Simulator is socialist. Climate Survivors is pro-climate action. And there's so much porn games listed on here, with classics like I Got Blackmailed by a Fudanari, Juicy Fuda, Fuda Tales, Fuda Fix Dick Dine and Dash, Fuda Dom World, a few more, and a lot more with that stuff in there. I think someone on their team isn't really good at hiding what they like. The truth is, games have always been woke. There's always been diversity and representation in games. There's always been critiques of society and politics. The only difference now is that these things have become main talking points in politics for the last while, while buzzwords like woke, DEI, politically correct, as kind of these catch-all terms to use when it's something the people that regularly use them don't like, including race and gender, even though that shit shouldn't be political. If Tomb Raider came out today, they'd complain about it. Oh, they complain about Tomb Raider now. I've seen people say they've wokeified her, and then showed a Monoware Tuscan, like that's actually what she looks like, which just isn't true. They'd do the same with Sheik in Ocarina of Time. There's so many games that they've called woke, or fits the actual definition that they've played and loved. Even if there's people like the anti-woke Steam group that made the list we just looked at, calling out old games for being woke, the rest usually ignore it, or say it was different back then. And yeah, it was, but not as much as they want you to think. It does seem that way now though, because companies are using it as a marketing tactic to a new group. They're constantly trying to pander to that group, because they see money. That's why they change their social media profile pictures on Pride Month, only in countries where it's okay. In my opinion, the woke criticism talk is stupid. To me, it adds basically zero substance to the overall talk, and kinda just derails the overall conversation, like with Concord. Critiquing the gameplay, art, and story is the most important to me and hopefully everyone else. I don't care what the game is trying to say, or who it wants to represent in it. As long as it's good, then that's all I want. I don't really want to talk about politics that much on my channel, and I'm going to try and avoid it unless it's involved in the piece of media I'm talking about. I just want to talk about this type of criticism that's been growing for the past year in gaming, and why I don't agree with it. Like always, tell me what you feel about this topic, and please be respectful about it. Like and subscribe if you liked the video, dislike if you disliked it. Alright, now go back to watching your regularly scheduled slop.